Every time when we work on a project, we try to do something new and exciting. One of the reasons why we choose Adobe products is that it gives us more flexibility in what we're trying to achieve.
As a feature editor, you always want things to be changing and improving. We want to be comfortable with the tools with which we work.
What we need in an editing package is really an uninterrupted flow between the idea and the output. And so Premiere seemed like the perfect choice for us.
I feel like I'm able to work faster. I'm able to get an idea out of my brain faster with Premiere. We just love the program, and I feel like the show is better because of it.
As cutting becomes more involved with visual effects, that's become increasingly important that you have platforms like this helping you sort of see the film as you go along.
The way I edit is conducive to using Adobe Premiere. The way I can move in Premiere is the way that I would see things playing out on my head.
Premiere is simple to navigate, but it offers so much complexity.
These are the kinds of tools that we need to go beyond metaphor and go beyond simile.
Premiere Pro allowed us to just concentrate on telling the story and less about importing and doing all these other things that slow down the process and would have really hindered our creative ability.
For me, editing is 50% of direction, because I'm recreating it in post and I'm rewriting it in post.
I think that it's an extreme golden time. The editing system doesn't get in your way and allows you to facilitate the vision that you think in your head that you would like to be able to do, and the system says, yeah, I can do
that. Once again, my name is Carl Soule, and this is Matt Christensen sitting next to me. I'm going to try and go fairly quickly through just a couple of slides here. Now, first question I have for everybody here, how many here are ACE members? Okay, so the first half of this, I just wanted to kind of call this out. We do actually have an email address for ACE members, and we do offer a free half-day training if you need it on Adobe Premiere. Most likely you'll be trained by another ACE member. Vashi Nedemansky is one of our top trainers that does a lot of these. So if you do have a project that's upcoming, this is one of the benefits of being an ACE member. If you're not an ACE member, we do offer additional training through online videos, and we actually have a special playlist of videos that are specific to working editors in Hollywood and in the community here. So these videos focus on more advanced workflows like delivering splits, like proper best practices for syncing picture and sound for dailies, proper workflows overall with dailies, moving from one NLE to another NLE. We have all kinds of different specialty videos and training materials. So this adobe.ly/cutting rooms is for everybody in the room. Move forward here. This is just kind of a cool number that I found. I think it was Cisco actually did the extrapolation of this. 604,800,000,000 minutes of video a week by 2021. How many are feeling that? With the number of deliverables that you have to produce these days, it used to be, for every project you had like one main deliverable that you had to worry about, and now it seems like more and more the amount of content that we have to create, it's accelerating. Not only is it the standard deliverables, but you have different ones for all the different types of markets, the different social media deliverables that you have to deal with. And we need to be able to work faster and smarter in ways that are going to allow us to continue to make all these different types of deliverables, different aspect ratios for different screens and so on. This is kind of a mantra that we've been using for the last cycle and the last release. Really the core Premiere Pro team this cycle didn't come up with any new features this release. There are new features in the software. A lot of those were done by the motion graphics team or the film team. Matt is going to show something that was actually developed working directly with a number of ACE editors, including Alan Bell. So we are advancing the software, but we wanted to take a cycle and really focus on performance and stability this release. And in doing that, we are seeing some really, really big performance gains in different areas. Multiple GPU support in Premiere Pro. We're seeing renders and export times dropping. It's not often I get to say something is 6 times faster than the last release, but that's actually what happened with this latest release with Premiere Pro. So we're going to continue that idea. We've been doing up to 4 feature-related releases a year. We're going to kind of start to slow that down just a little tiny bit. We still are going to innovate. We're still going to add more to the software. You're going to see more of those types of features coming in the fall releases, and then in the spring we really want to just make it a habit of focusing on and looking for ways that we can just improve on workflows and really make the spring releases more workflow-centric and performance-centric, so that we can continue to help you guys do what you love doing. How many here have heard of Adobe Sensei? So Sensei is our machine learning, our artificial intelligence tool set. And the Sensei team is actually they're a separate group within Adobe, and they focus on ways of utilizing machine learning and artificial intelligence and putting that either in a cloud-based service or baking it directly into the applications. So when you hear me talking about things that are inside of Premiere Pro, inside of After Effects that are powered by Sensei, they're coming from this group. And we really see an opportunity to help you guys work faster in ways that is going to keep you in a creative mindset more and get rid of the mundane aspects of editorial. How many here like to create audio keyframes for like ducking music down? I don't like doing that. It's kind of mind-numbing, at least the first half of it, right? Getting all the keyframes in place. Every time I need to duck it, let's see, I need 4 dots. Okay, let me do it again, let me do it again. If the computer can do that for me automatically, so be it. As long as I have the creative control and the flexibility afterwards to go in and fine-tune it and adjust it and use my human ears to make sure that what I'm hearing is telling the story that I'm trying to tell. And so that's where we're planning on, where we're going to continue to use Sensei moving forward. I get a lot of weird, strange emails from people saying Adobe's trying to put editors out of work by creating this thing called Sensei, and it's going to turn into Skynet, it's going to be the end of the industry. A computer cannot feel emotion. What we do as editors, if anybody ever see like some of the videos that have been edited by like an AI algorithm or something, even if you were to take like a script and have like a computer cut line by line within a script, we all know that editorial is kind of the final level of storytelling, the final level of rewriting the story, as was mentioned in the video I just showed. So we want to make sure and use AI responsibly in ways that it's going to make your jobs better and keep you in that creative space and just eliminate the tedium. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. That's all the slides I have. I have one more, but I'll show that a little bit later. I'm going to jump in really quickly and showcase a couple of things. And to start with, I just wanted to make sure and showcase some of the flexibility inside of Premiere Pro. Part of what Matt and I work on in the Hollywood team is making sure that as you're moving between different editing platforms, that you can edit and tell the story the way you want to edit and tell the story. What I mean by that is there's many different metaphors for working in editorial. Some editors I work with are very much source and record driven, and they're very much insert overwrite driven. Other editors are more drag and drop, more mouse centric, and want to be able to move things around and copy and paste. Premiere really tries to provide a complete set of tools regardless of the way you want to work, but also allow you to kind of mix and match those metaphors on a case-by-case basis as needed. I'll just show a quick example here. Right now I've got a short film loaded up over here in my record monitor. I'm just going to make sure I'll grab, I think this is already loaded. Yeah, my camera roll is loaded up here in my source monitor. And I'm just going to go ahead and open that in a timeline view as well. So here I've got my timeline in my source monitor. Here I've got my timeline in my program monitor. And Premiere's flexible enough that I can display both of these simultaneously if I want. So here I've got an example where I've got my source monitor loaded up over here, or my chem roll. I've got my edit sequence loaded up here. So I can insert and overwrite from one sequence into another. I can use source patching and I can target that. All of that can be keyboard driven. You can build out presets for your patching if you need to, and save those as different presets so that you have them at a keyboard shortcut as necessary. But on top of that, Premiere gives you the ability, if I know that this particular clip belongs at the end, there's nothing that prevents me from just grabbing that, dragging it, and dropping it from one sequence to another. So we call this style of editing here, where we have multiple sequences stacked on top of each other, pancake editing. It's something kind of unique to the way Premiere works with as many sequences as you want to have. So it's possible to actually have multiple sequences either in source or record and be able to work this way. Now, in addition, the team has focused a lot on making sure all those little tiny pieces work the way you expect, or give you the option of making Premiere work exactly the way you want it to work. One of the things that we worked on at one point was just some simple match frame functionality. I like, when I hit match frame, I want to mark that as my endpoint at the same time. I don't want it to be a two-step process. We actually added, under preferences in the timeline preferences, there's now a keyboard shortcut, match frame sets endpoint, so that if you need that behavior, you can turn that on. And again, it's all about editing the way that you want to edit. Another function that I just like to point out, and I'm just going to go ahead and nest these two together here so that we can just see what's in the record monitor a little clearer, is we have added a function that allows you, if you've ever been in a situation where you needed to take a particular scene, and that scene might have a bunch of different tracks associated with it. I just need to take everything within this in and out range, and I want to load this in the source monitor so that I can cut it in somewhere different. We often rearrange things, and especially if you're getting into that end stage in a project, your sequences can have hundreds of tracks. Hopefully not. But they can have dozens of tracks, definitely. I've got something mapped right now. If I just hit Command Option U, this is actually, it has taken my in and out marks, and I'll just open that in the timeline view here. Everything that was in my original sequence, it has now loaded that into the source monitor so that I can easily insert or overwrite it into a different location and change patching order if I needed to rearrange tracks and so on. So this is a keyboard shortcut that we added. I'll go to my keyboard shortcuts for a second if you haven't seen that. This is something that we refer to that as a subsequence. And there is a menu, it's unmapped by default, so you have to go in here and map it to something. Make subsequence from all tracks. This just allows me to quickly mark an in and out point in my timeline, and it will automatically load whatever is in that in and out range into a new timeline, a new sequence in the source monitor form. So very, very quick and easy way of doing things. So these are the types of things that the Santa Monica office, the development team focuses on, making sure that these types of features are in there. And oftentimes these come from specific engagements, either on network TV shows, dramas, feature films. And the software is loaded with these different things that have been added just in the last couple of years. There's dozens and dozens of little things like this. I think some of them get overlooked because we do this so rapidly. We added this functionality in the sequence where if I just hold down the shift key, it locks the constraint on a clip so that I can't accidentally overwrite something or accidentally move it left or right in the timeline. That was done in just like a dot update. And I still show that to people and they're like, when did you add that? So it's an ongoing effort to add that type of functionality to the software. All right, I'm going to move on here. So I also want to talk about some other new functions that we have. And for this, I'm actually going to turn on in our view menu. I'm going to turn on show rulers, and I'll turn on show guides. After Effects has had rulers and guides in the composition viewer for years. And we always thought, yeah, it'd be a good idea to add that to Premiere Pro, but we never did it. It just never kind of percolated to the top of the list. If there's something like that inside of Premiere that you would like to see, go to Help and go to Provide Feedback. We added a new set of pages, and this is true for After Effects and Media Encoder and all the applications within Creative Cloud, where we have what we call our user voice experience. This is where you can enter in your own idea. You can make as simple or as complex a description as you would like. And not only do the product managers see these, even if you're the only person who votes for it, you'll notice that there are votes next to these, and you can go through here and upvote other features. Please support Linux. This is the top one right now. We're pretty convinced there's a bot somewhere that just keeps voting. But yeah, for the most part, this was one of those cases where we never thought there was that big of a demand for rulers and guides to the program monitor. And user voice told us it was one of our top features. It was one of the top requested features. So the motion graphics team took time out in this last cycle and added the feature into the software. So it does make a difference. What you guys tell us is missing, we definitely want to get it in the software and add it and do it in a way that everybody can benefit from it. I'm going to talk more about graphics, and to do this, I'm actually going to switch over to my graphics workspace, because a few versions ago, we introduced this idea of the Essential Graphics panel as kind of like a one-stop shop for storing your motion graphic templates, and to give you a way of organizing your templates. Anytime you create titles in Premiere and you want to save those, you can save them directly to this Essential Graphics panel. And that way they're visible and they're drag and droppable into any project you might have open. So as you're building out templates and graphics, Essential Graphics is a kind of a key part of that workflow. I'm going to go ahead and show one quick example here. This is a really simple motion graphic that we've done. Just has kind of a flying effect. It's kind of mapped to the lower third of the image and it flies out. And obviously the text is modifiable here with the type tool. If I select this, I get a series of controls in here for modifying and adjusting this. Even if I've saved this out as a template, I can still go in and I can change it after the fact. The motion graphics team continues to add more and more functionality in here. There's a bunch of new things dealing with, like the ability to just have a background layer that just locks to the text. You don't have to create that as a separate layer. But one of the things that I really like about how they've been building this out is this functionality called responsive design. And what responsive design means is that I can actually, the position of this can be relative to the video frame. What I mean by that is, how many of us now have to develop deliverables to watch on this, or to watch on Facebook? We fought long and hard for 16:9 video, and I'm so glad it's the standard at home, and now everybody's sitting like this. It's a valid art form. I believe that. I shouldn't. People are watching it, it is what it is. So, how does this relate to motion graphics? Well, if you've ever been on Facebook and watched something that somebody exported without thinking about it, or where they just did a simple center crop, oftentimes the motion graphics end up cut off on the sides. With responsive design, if I create a vertical version of my video, and I reuse this same graphic, in fact, in this case, I'm just going to copy it, come over here and paste it in. Oops, I did that earlier, I forgot to target do my source patch. There we go. It will automatically pin itself to the lower part of the video. I don't have to worry about whether this is something that is, square aspect ratio, narrow portrait mode, doesn't matter. It can pin the motion graphic to the lower half of the video for me automatically so that it will always show up on screen, it will always do the right thing. I'm basically saying to pin this to the video frame. And if I wanted to force this to pin to the lower left side, I can turn on this little widget, I can force what edges I want to force that relativity to, so that this will always be pinned to the left. As I'm building out a motion graphic, I might have multiple layers of that graphic. I might have a logo that I brought in, that's a separate layer. I might have multiple text layers. Do I want to pin these all to the video frame, or do I want to make them relative to each other? There's a lot of nice functionality in there about how this works. And if you haven't seen what a motion graphic template looks like from After Effects, this is just an example of a motion graphic template that was created in Adobe After Effects. With an After Effects template, the controls that I see over here on the side are actually built and designed by the After Effects artist. So the artist who creates your motion graphic template, instead of giving you a baked QuickTime file, instead of giving you a something that you can't modify, where you have to type in the text in text layers in Premiere, this template is fully modifiable over here in the Essential Graphics panel in ways that the After Effects artist creates. In this example, I actually have full font control on this. I can go in and I can adjust the text properties of each of the different layers. Most importantly, I can come in here for something like this, and if I go to team number 3, let's just change the score from 6 to 8, and we'll see that update. If I want to come down here and change the background color from yellow to something more in the orange, I can do that. And it doesn't impact this. So this is a motion graphic template. It was built in After Effects, but I don't even have to have After Effects installed on my system. Premiere will actually load this and run it as a motion graphic template. And it even can have advanced controls where I can have a slider that automatically changes, and notice how it resizes everything to fit nicely so that everything kind of stays looking good. That type of logic can be built right into the template over in After Effects using advanced After Effects functionality. So 2 different ways to make motion graphic templates: directly inside of Premiere, or you can make them from After Effects and then you can customize the controls for them. So we've really worked hard on this idea of having the Essential Graphics panel be sort of the one-stop shop where I can come in. If I've got existing templates, if I wanted to add or replace a template here, I can just drag and drop from the Essential Graphics panel to my timeline and reuse a template that I've used in other areas. And on top of that, Adobe also has our stock service. If I click on the stock tab and click on this little checkbox here marked free, and if I have internet, I had to think about it. Actually, there's 12 pages of free templates that are available. Again, fully customizable templates that you can just, once you download them, they're on your system for life. Okay. So there's some added value in there. Okay, so that's graphics, and that's using the Essential Graphics panel. I want to start getting into a little bit about working faster and working smarter. And I mentioned that whole idea. It's one of the banes of my editorial existence is audio keyframing. I just hate doing it. Getting in there with the pen tool and moving things up and down and everything. It's I've never been a fan. And in the latest version of Premiere, switching to a different workspace here because I'm going to talk about audio. We introduced this concept of something called the Essential Sound Panel. And the Essential Sound Panel serves a lot of different functions. It's a great tool for temp sound design. Even if you're not going to do the final mix, a lot of what I'm showing here today, when I talk about color, when I talk about sound, sometimes you're going to have some professionals doing this later on as you do turnovers and things like that. But you want to get the temp elements as good as possible so that they're not a distracting process during reviews, during screenings, and things like that. So even if sound design is not something you want to spend a lot of time on, this will actually help out quite a bit. The way this works is I can start by selecting a range of clips, dialogue, music, sound effects, or ambience. And by doing that, Premiere provides a set of controls for doing that. So I've already tagged these clips as dialogue, so now when I click the dialogue button, they're automatically highlighted, and I've got a series of controls that I can play around with. Now, before we get too far down this path, I'm going to go ahead and play off my timeline here. So let me, this is unmixed so far. I have dialogue and music here.
It's weird, like I've always struggled with self-doubt. All these questions.
I can barely hear him, right? We really need to do some work on this. To start with, let me just turn off under my guides here. I just want to turn off the guides for now. I find that a little distracting. And what I'm going to do to start with is select my dialogue. And under loudness, I can come in here and just hit one button to auto match the dialogue. Now this again is powered by Adobe Sensei, so it goes through and it matches to a target loudness that it detects is going to be best for this. So this isn't normalization, it's actually doing a perceived loudness value. Technically it's targeting everything to -23 LUFS. And so right away, if I click the solo button on these tracks and just hit play.
Like I've always struggled with self-doubt.
Sounds a bit better. I'm going to turn on the enhanced speech filter.
All these questions, I'm like, oh, are you enough?
Sounds better. And then I can start to play with some of the additional controls. There's repair controls in here. There's a reduce noise filter. There's a reduce reverb function. And I'm going to turn up the clarity on this by clicking on the dynamics processor.
All these questions, I'm like, oh, are you enough?
That's starting to sound roughly where I want it. Now, because I've got them all selected, they're all getting this effect applied to them. And again, it's a simple slider to control here. What is happening under the hood, if I select one of these clips, you'll notice in the effect controls here, it's adding a dynamics processing filter, it's adding a vocal enhancer. If I click into that dynamics processing, you can see that this has built out a fairly complex curve of compressors and expanders to affect the quality of the audio. And if I move this slider around, you can see what that's actually doing here. Now, if you're an audio expert and you want to go back and tweak this after the fact, you have the full flexibility and capability of doing that. And that's again what I'm talking about with Sensei and this idea of kind of getting you to the 80% range so that you can use your skills in what you want to do creatively. So now I've gone through, I'm just going to go back and let me just select all my dialogue clips. And I just want this all to sound uniform here, so I'm just going to kind of move that, toggle that slider around a little bit. And I want to work with my music. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the music tab. You'll see it's selected my music for me. Now, here we have another Sensei-powered feature. This is the auto-ducking function, and this is found under the music tab and the ambient sound tab. So if you want to bring up birds chirping in the morning and have that automatically duck down when someone speaks, you have the ability to do that as well. I'm going to do that. I'll do this on music for today. Works pretty simply. I choose which type of audio I want to duck against. So in this case, I'm choosing to duck against the dialogue. If I wanted to have sound effects as well, I could just simply click that button. I'm just going to leave all these set to the factory defaults and click generate keyframes. And if you look down on my sequence, Premiere has just clicked 30 times for me in a second. So that's where we want to use Sensei. Now these are still fully modifiable, fully adjustable keyframes. But now when I play this back, oops, let me unsolo my dialogue.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I've always struggled with self-doubt. All these questions, I'm like, oh, are you enough?
So we could very quickly continue to modify and tweak this further. I've got some parameters here I can control for sensitivity, how much to duck again or duck down, how quickly do I want to fade it. So I can continue to play around with this. Or if I'm ready to just jump into moving the keyframes around, I've got that flexibility as well. Okay. Similarly, when we talk about color, this whole concept of having like an essential panel that handles a task really well comes from a panel, the very first panel that was introduced to do this type of work was something called the Lumetri color panel. And this actually took the engine from SpeedGrade, which was a full-on color grading app, and moved it into Premiere Pro and put a different set of controls on it that are designed to be a little simpler and easier to operate. Something new that we added here, that again is powered by Sensei, is the idea of color matching. So if I've got a hero shot that looks like this, that I've gone through and made sure this one is properly color graded the way I want it, I get some additional footage that looks like this. I need to be able to match these two shots. How do I go through and do that? In the Lumetri panel, in addition to all the basic creative controls, the curve controls, there's a lot in here. A lot of curves. If I go to color wheels, there's a button called Comparison View. This button is also something you can have underneath your program monitor. I have it drop down right there. And when I click on that, it actually gives me a second playhead that I can jump around through to find my reference shot. Here's my reference shot. So if I want to pull the color from this clip and apply it to this clip, all I have to do now is click one button. Apply match. The only control I have to worry about, there's a face detection function I can turn on or off. If I have that on, it's going to weight the color adjustments to match skin tone over anything else that's in the shot. I'll just go ahead and click Apply Match. And what this has done, again, Sensei has taken these controls here in the color wheels and moved the wheels around, moved the sliders around to best match as it sees fit. This is done by watching millions of hours of clips to determine what somebody would do to actually move these around, and this builds out an AI algorithm that then enables me to, and again, this is fully modifiable. If I look at it and say, you know what, the highlights are still a little bit too blue, let's kind of push these a little bit further into the yellow areas here, and maybe I want to darken down the midtones a little bit. It's still fully adjustable, but it got me 80% of the way there very, very quickly. Okay, let me talk briefly about some of the integration functions. Because in addition to Adobe Premiere, Creative Cloud, of course, comes with other video production tools, including Adobe After Effects and Adobe Audition. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time in these applications, and in fact, I'm not going to even go in and launch either of those applications. I'm actually going to just do everything from within Premiere Pro, because we really focus on the integration functionality so that you're probably going to spend 95% of your time in Premiere doing everything there. But we want to make sure you have the ability to jump over to these applications pretty seamlessly if you need to. So what I'm going to do to start with, I've got a sequence here. This was something that I actually shot this in Mumbai. Let's see if we can remove some of the beeps. If you've never been on a street corner at midnight in Mumbai, it's an experience. You want to turn that up, we'll play it one more time. So this is the complete natural sound taken directly off my camera. Let's see if we can remove some of the beeps. And almost on cue, as soon as I said the word beeps, there's a beep. You probably live with this. I could probably throw some sort of an EQ filter on it to just try to minimize that. But just to know the power of this is here, what I'm going to do in this case is right-click on this clip, and I'm going to choose this little menu option here, Edit Clip and Audition. I don't have to go and find Audition. I don't have to copy and paste the audio. It will do it all for me. And it will start out by bringing over the clip looking like this. Let's see if we can remove some of the beeps. Audition has a spectral frequency display that lets me see individual frequencies. Let me play that back again. Can you see the beeps? Let's see if we can remove some of the beeps. How do you remove that in Photoshop? Maybe something like the healing brush tool? So Audition actually has the ability to heal out sounds using a healing brush metaphor. So I can just grab that, heal that out. This has some harmonics. There's two main sounds there, so I'm just going to do that one more time on there. That's good. Let's listen to that. Let's see if we can remove some of the beeps. I could go further with this and start taking these beeps here and just getting rid of some of these little dots here. And so on and so forth. You get the idea. How do I get this back over to Premiere? Command S to save it. When I switch back to Premiere, you'll see the waveform update. Let's see if we can remove some of the beeps. Let me take off my own. I put a little limiter on there. Let's see if we can remove some of the beeps. Much less of a problem. And again, if we're talking about temp sound, if you know this is going to get fixed someplace else, again, how quickly was I able to do that? Very, very fast. Quickly, another thing that I'll show you here, I'll go back to my main sequence. Here I've got, if I zoom in on my timeline here, a little VFX shot. We're going through footage in this case. This is a little short film about this lone biker across Northern California. And we found this wonderful shot on this road here, but of course the one place that we actually want to use it is where the chase car was actually in the frame. This was supposed to be B-roll that was going to be used for the making of, but now the director wants to use this in the main shot. Car's a little distracting. It doesn't look as cool as all these lone shots across lonely highways here. Now, I could just mark it as a VFX shot, send it off to somebody else, deal with it later. But what I did instead here is I used the masking and tracking inside of Premiere Pro to actually quickly draw a mask on this. So just masked out the car, the dust coming off the back of the car, as well as the shadow of the car. And what I'm going to do now is send this over to After Effects by right-clicking on it and saying Replace with After Effects Composition. Now, the only thing I have to know about After Effects is I have to save a project file. I'm being a little facetious, but you really don't have to do a lot. After Effects takes the footage, drops it into a new composition, gets it onto a timeline for me, so I can see there's the car, there's the tracked mask that I did in Premiere Pro. Notice the mask just came across seamlessly. It moved the mask over and turned it into an After Effects mask. So the one thing I need to do is I need to kind of flip the mask or invert it. So I'm going to change it to a subtract mask so that that becomes a hole in the shot. Now, one of our new Powered by Sensei features is something called Content Aware Fill. And I'm just going to make sure this is set to object mode, and I'll hit Generate Fill Layer. I got about a minute or so that I need to talk to you guys while this does its magic under the hood. What Content Aware Fill for video does, this actually goes through and it analyzes the previous frames, it analyzes future frames, and sees if it can find pixels that can fill in the hole. If it can't find those pixels, it will synthesize those pixels based on what it sees in the shot. So, almost done, little blue bars, working hard, okay. And there is what it was able to synthesize. So, those pixels that you're seeing right there, those are actually synthetic pixels that were generated and put into a PNG sequence to fill the hole. So, how do I get this back over into Premiere? I just switch back to Premiere and And now let's play that back in context. That's more what the director wanted. So even if you're just doing this on a temp basis, this is fantastic to be able to do stuff like this. Now, even if I don't ever really want to touch After Effects, the fact that I can right-click on this clip, send it into an After Effects project, at this point, if I wanted somebody else to go in and do that section of the work, I could. It's an After Effects project file that's on the shared storage. So I can have an After Effects artist down the hall, I can have an assistant editor, they'll actually do the work for me. In fact, I'm just going to undo this here, so I go back to just having a video clip. But we even have the ability in here, let me redo that. When I'm ready to lock this down, I can just choose this option here called Render and Replace, and that will unlink it from the After Effects project file. It'll make it a standalone video clip in the timeline. So very, very easy to add this type of workflow and this functionality. I mentioned a feature that the team, the Hollywood film team, actually worked on here. This is something that Matt worked really closely with a number of editors. We got this feedback initially from Alan Bell. He sent us a document, and we've had him into the office on a number of occasions to kind of look at things. And we also worked with another editor, Lisa Zeno-Churgin, on a film, an ACE member, on a film last year called Old Man and the Gun, and Lisa is a very visual editor, so we agreed to do a feature dealing with flexible bin layouts, and for that I'm going to turn things over to Matt.
All right, thanks, Carl. We get our magical crossfit. All right, so I want to start out by pointing out too that part of what I'm going to show, in addition to the new view Carl mentioned, is that Carl and I are actually working on shared storage. And it's something you don't necessarily hear too much about, but we actually, with Premiere, support multiple editors collaborating within one project on a shared storage system like this. So before I get too into it, let me just show you down here. You can see I'm in our shared master project here. And I've got my dailies bins open that I'm working with, so they're locked to me. And on Carl's system, these would show up with little red things saying, hey, Matt's currently working in these. And you can see this was opened by Mike Burton as well, which we're sort of simulating as if there's even a third editor here. So anything that happened to be opened by Carl, for example, this project he just opened up, that updates automatically on my machine as well. So we can be happily working away, and Carl has asked me to get these bins ready. So you'll see in this scene I've got here as our normal list view, and that's where you can see all your metadata and sort of get a high-level view of your clips, but it's not very conducive to looking at your shots or being creative in your storytelling. So in addition to the icon view, which currently exists, we've added this third view, and you can get to it with the control down here, and it's called Freeform View. The idea behind this view is you have full control over your clips and where you lay them out, so you can start to think creatively and organizationally instead of just looking at a spreadsheet of your media. One of my favorite keyboard shortcuts in Premiere is to use the tilde key on the top left of your keyboard to sort of maximize the current panel. And that's really great when you're on a laptop with Freeform View. You can take up your whole screen to kind of work with this. So just to kind of show you, you guys know how you like your clips arranged, but a thing we hear all the time would be if you're doing multicam work, for example, which we're just going to pretend that I have here. You might put your A camera, your B camera, and then the subsequent multicam next to each other like this, right? Start to build a little group like that. You might do them in a line, like that. Or you might just have a collection of B-roll clips over here that you need to organize. And you can even start to overlap them, do things like this. I do this a lot for similar clips where I don't want it to take up the full amount of space. You can still hover over them and get a sense for what they are without having to have them taking up that same amount of space. I know Carl's kind of a picky editor and actually prefers things to not overlap and be aligned to a grid. So for example, I can take a series of clips, or the entire bin actually, and just do a right click and align them to a grid. And they'll snap back to the closest grid nearby. Or if you like to keep things even tighter and closer, while you're dragging, you can hold the Option key, and things will snap to either the edge of the clip, like that, or to the side, like that. So you can start to build really complex or really compact, or both, layouts. But what I really like about working on this feature is we wanted to go above and beyond the obvious features we just showed you. And one of those is how you can save your work and start to version it. So for example, it wouldn't really make sense to have undo with this feature because I probably just did 60 operations. And if I go to undo 60 times, I've lost all the other things that are more useful to undo. So to help work around that, you can right click anywhere in the bin and save it as a new layout. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this as ready for Carl. And now that has saved this display of clips into this bin of the project file. So it will move with the project file. And that serves two functions. If Carl then comes in and says, these clips are terrible, I hate this shot, we're never using these, this is all I want to look at, next time I come to the project, I haven't lost my work. I'll just go ahead and save this as Carl's ideas. And then if I need to work on the clips as I last left them, I can go back to ready for Carl and see them. So those are all saved in the bin. And so you can use that for versioning like that, or you could also use it for creative reasons if you want to lay out the clips in different ways. Maybe you want to see the clips arranged by time code. So for example, if I right click and I reset to grid, I can use any of these metadata properties and reset a fresh layout. So I'm going to say media start, which would be your time code. And now the clips are resorted based on media start. But I haven't lost any of my previous layouts, and I can go from here to start to build a new one. So it's extremely flexible. As you start to work with this, you can organize your clips any way you want, and then do different versions of that. And I'm going to show you a couple other examples here of how this might look. One of the things we put a lot of time to in is how this is going to work when you have hundreds or thousands of clips. So there's a handful of different ways to zoom. We've got our built-in zoom slider down here, so you can zoom in or zoom out. But if you've noticed, there's actually multiple sizes to clips. So by default, a clip will be about this size. We call that medium. You can get a clip all the way up to this size, which we call extra large. So in addition to where they are, clips can be independently sized to give another dimension to how important or not important they are. And then you'll see over here, this is a way that I started to work on as a way to even start to ignore the source monitor and just work from your bin as you start to cut into your timeline. So you can start to treat this as a storyboard of your entire project. One of our best features is called Hover Scrub, and that lets me just kind of roll over my clip without selecting it and get a sense of what I was doing. So as I started to organize these, I realized that these two shots here are just sort of, secondary to this main shot. So we might not even use them, but if we were going to use them, they would be right here. So I just kind of chopped them in here for safekeeping and made them a smaller size. And so you can see I basically have a timeline built for this scene already. If I go into the panel menu here, we have what's called freeform view options. In working with Lisa and Alan, they were very clear with us they need a lot of control over what they see. So by default, you have control over the first and second line of metadata that will show you on the clip. So by default, it's going to just be the name. Put that back. And you also can come in here and turn on any of these different metadata fields, which will then populate underneath. So for example, I'm going to show you guys the video duration. And I'm going to turn off badges and turn off label colors because I'm not using them here. So now underneath the main clip name here, you can see we have a little duration, and this is the in and out point. So it's the video duration on the clip. So as I start to hover scrub through these, I can set an endpoint, like there, and go here to here. And wait till he comes right up and gets off. Maybe like that. And as you can see, I'm just starting to build up my little timeline, and the numbers are updating automatically. And then I'm just going to grab these clips and drop them right down here into my assembly timeline. And then without using any source monitor, we have started to build our assembly. So freeform really lets you start to work creatively and then jump right into your edit. So I started to build my assembly there. And I just also like to point out, we got an ask from Lisa specifically. She said, my assistants deal with all the metadata, I don't care about this. And I just see my pretty pictures. And so you can come in and print these off too. Just see your pictures, just as if you printed them out from on a wall. Start to work that way. So that's just a super quick overview of freeform. I'm going to turn it back to Carl, and before I do that, you can see since I currently have this bin locked here, I'm just going to click the green lock here, save it. And now it's red, and now my name has disappeared from here, so it's up for Carl to go ahead and open and work from it. So back to you, Carl.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. So yeah, so at this point, I'm in the exact same master project here. We've been kind of working back and forth, and I can easily go in here and grab like the tunnel scene, throw this into freeform view, and if I need to, here's prep for Carl. So now I've got the layout that Matt just showed here. So this idea of being able to work collaboratively locally is something that we refer to as shared projects. Shared projects, I've got one last little PowerPoint slide to show you guys here, just so you're aware of this. If you Google and you look for collaboration with Adobe Premiere Pro, you're going to find that we have two different styles of collaboration built into the application. You may hear some stuff about team projects, or you may hear, oh, to collaborate with Premiere, you've got to be connected to the internet, so we can never use it. That's false. There is an internet-centric way of collaborating, something that we call team projects. Team projects does work in the cloud. It does allow people to work across distances, and it's really geared towards short-form projects. Shared projects is what Matt and I are using right now. This requires no internet connectivity. It's designed to meet MPAA guidelines, and it allows us to collaborate with shared storage. So all the tech that you see here on the table is what we're using today. 2 laptops, and this box here is a Jellyfish. That's our shared storage unit, so we're just plugging into the back of that. So shared projects works really, really well for long-form work, for documentary work. Where team projects can come in handy is it's possible for me to spin up a team project, for example, if there's a director that I'm working with who's also an ACE member and wants to look at and maybe tinker around with a particular scene. I could put a team project together, put all of the dailies in for that scene into a smaller project, and then work with that. We've got a couple of cases where documentaries are doing that today, where there's one in particular I'm thinking of where the director is actually in Arkansas. The main editorial staff of like 5 editors is working off of shared storage within a facility in the Los Angeles area. But every once in a while, the director wants to tinker around. And so they'll put together a team project, and the director's already got all the source media, so all that's being shared is the edit that the director is putting together. So the two can work together. They're not exclusive of each other, but the one I think you guys want to focus on is shared projects. And that again is this idea of breaking up a larger project into bite-sized chunks, and then use a master project to kind of organize that. So you can see inside of my master project here, I've got a sound effects library, I've got my music project, and then we've got 2 different final cuts that we're working on. Mike Burton's working on something called the matted version, which is going to have black bars burned into it. I'm actually cutting the actual original aspect ratio for the DCP file. So we're kind of working together on that. I want to take just a quick moment and talk about 2 future technologies. I'm going to go really quickly on this. There's one thing about shared projects today that we are working on some solutions for. People who use this today, there are some cases where shared projects makes duplicate instances of your master clips. If you've gone in and organized your dailies into your day 1 project, shared project, and you start cutting those in, it's going to make hidden references in your existing project, and this can lead to some duplicate media. It also makes it more difficult to right-click on a clip and say, you know, reveal this in the project if I'm looking for those alternate takes. We are working on a future technology, something that we call cross-media referencing, and the idea behind this is going to enable me to cut from, in this case, the day 1 project. I can come in here, mark an in point, mark an out point, and insert or overwrite this into a project, and this will not create a clip in the project that holds my timeline. It references that original master clip. So kind of what people expect, this is going to enable you to keep your projects organized. It won't create duplicate media. It'll prevent future instances where duplicate media can show up. And even if I close the day 1 project at this point, if I come over here and find that clip in my timeline and I say, you know what, I need to reveal that in the project, it will automatically open up the day 1 project and highlight it for me. So this has kind of been the missing piece of the puzzle in the shared projects collaborative workflow. It's been in testing now for quite a while, and we've actually got some feature films that are continuing to kind of bulletproof this before we release it to the public. But just know that this is coming. And you can talk more about it with us at the booth over there. Now, one last thing that I want to showcase. When I was talking about this idea of delivering to different aspect ratios, one of the big challenges, of course, is working with media that starts in 16:9, and you have to create a portrait mode version of it. We are working on a new, powered by Sensei technology called, it's Project Smooth Operator is the name of it. I didn't come up with the name of it. But the idea behind this uses AI and machine learning to pick a region of interest within the shot and to automatically do all your pan and scan type functionality based on what it detects as the region of interest. So these are just a couple of different examples of where you can see, here's a real, this is like the acid test we tried, drone footage of this car going completely crazy, and you can see it's still doing a pretty good job of tracking the car. And this one, there's two regions of interest, so it kind of bounces back and forth between the dog, back to the person, back over to the dog again, to kind of track this. So that's something that we do have in the works. So just a couple of sneak peeks at a couple of new technologies. And with that, we're going to wrap up. And we've got a little bit of a... Thank you.